Next one here. This guy's name is Canadian Hog Collars.
Nice. I don't know what that means.
So on the same thread with the coaching stuff, how do you deal with coaches trying to make you something you're not?
How do you make? Well, okay, that's a really interesting question.
It is.
Again, it kind of come down to in youth hockey, pro hockey. It could come down to a lot of things. A coach may have. I'd say in youth hockey, if that's a question, it could be a possibility that they don't really understand. I'm going to throw that on the coach first. Maybe they don't understand, but especially as you get higher levels, you don't understand. Is typically. I see it all the time. Charlie, you see it all the time when you're playing with guys. Like, you might see guys that, because you can't, like, listen, at your level, right, Charlie? Most of the kids that have played at your level have scored a lot of goals at one point, right? They were the best on their team.
They're all the superstars, man.
Yeah, they're the best on their team all the time. And I know Charlie has said it to me, because there's, some of the guys on the team that they just can't understand that they're not point getters. That's what I am. I'm a skill guy. It's like, but you're not. Like, you were scoring goals at will when you were in youth hockey, making plays, keeping the puck here. If anybody was to watch him in youth hockey, you'd say, like, he's a skill guy. And he does have a lot of skill. But when you're playing with the best of the best, you have to have, hopefully, there's another attribute that you have that need to be good at. So it's probably not always the coach. It's probably you don't understand yourself. And you probably should embrace a role that the coach has given you, because at the end of the day, whether you can be right or you can get ice time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you want to be right all the time, yeah, you're going to argue about where you should fit on the team till the end of the season, and you're going to be miserable because the coach just doesn't get you. Instead of just saying, coach thinks I should be blocking shots. If you do it, is it going to hurt you? Well, it might physically hurt you, but is it going to make you a worse player? You could still do it the way you play hockey, right? So I think it's really actually, the thing is that when you, like, Charlie's got a new coach this year. Okay. So the coach that he had last year, George, he's never had a coach like that in his life. And it was good. So this year he's got a new coach. So maybe everything that George wanted him to do, maybe this coach is going to make him do everything different. So do you sit there and say, well, George wanted me to do this? It's not the way it works. Scott wants you to do this. So you better do what Scott wants you to do if you want to have success. Because at the end of the day, if you play the way your coach wants you, who's in control of the ice time? Not you, your coach. So if you do what the coach wants you to do, you have a much better chance of being a successful player at that level.
Yep.
The thing is most players really don't have a clue of what they are.
That's right.
Honest to goodness, they really don't.
I'm going to hop in with my story again, because I did this exact thing, man. Exactly what this kid is talking about. How do you, like, your coach is trying to make you something you're not? Man, I played that game for my last 2 years of junior. I played that game. My first year as a junior, I had a coach that did exactly how I should be playing, like how I thought I should be playing. Put me right in that role, and it was great, and I thrived. So I thought, hey, this is how I should play. Great. I didn't really have an understanding of roles. I didn't have an understanding of what else I should be good at. I didn't have a comparable of who I play like. I didn't have any of that. So I went to this new team, and my coach, I've said this story before, a couple of months into the season, I talked to him a ton of, like, way later into the season, and he told me that I should be playing like Scott Hartnell, right? And I've said this to you before. I'm like, Scott Hartnell? Like, what the hell are you talking about? Scott Hartnell is 6'3". He's 215, 220 pounds, plays rough and tough. He's legit power forward grinding guy. I've never once done that ever. You don't know me. You're trying to make me something. You didn't ask me how I play and whatever. All that's true. All that's true. He didn't ask me how I play. He didn't ask me where I think I would fit. He didn't ask me any of that, which I still believe he should have done that. There should have been a conversation. But at the end of the day, he thinks that I need you to do this. Our team needs this. And I would have been far better off doing that. I would have been way more successful and when I look back on those last few years of junior, I would have had a way better experience had I just done that. And the funny thing too is that when I went and started playing at university, I played like that anyways. I ended up doing that role anyways, because I started to have the maturity when I was 22 to say, hey man, if you want to get the ice time, then you need to do this. This is what you need to do. And I started to care about winning my faceoffs and blocking shots and making sure I was all over guys on the forecheck and playing exactly the way that my coach said my second year or my last year of junior, you know? So I should have done that anyways, you know?
Yeah. Well, in a perfect world, you'd have a coach to say, okay, I need
That's
you to
right.
do this
Yep.
because, and you go, oh, because why? Because blah, 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 and blah. And you understand it and you do it because it makes sense. But that's the perfect world.
Mhm.
The world's not perfect. A lot of coaches just say, because I said so. You don't understand. So that's, again, your ownership is on you to figure out why. So my next point to that is, well, and then coaches, if you do have kids, I think it's very important that you do actually explain things to them so that they get it. That's what my number one thing is when I do clinics or we do this in here, the gym in here, or we speak to someone about that. It's always why you're doing it, not because you do it because this is how it's going to benefit you. Here's the why. When the kids understand the why, then they're typically a lot more responsive and they get it and they have a bigger desire to do a role. So for example, most of the kids, if you like that come from a midget program and they're high draft picks and they go to the OHL, they don't know, and they've got parents and coaches and everyone tell them how skilled they are and how great they are. So what happens is you get these kids trying to be all the same player, and then they get frustrated and they don't understand about the checking role. So I just wrote this down as you mentioned that because I think it's very, very important for every player. Overestimate your competition. And that doesn't mean go in there nervous or scared, but overestimate, and don't just pretend to overestimate. Assume every single guy that you're playing against is better than you, has more skill or equal at least, and is faster and works harder and does everything that you're supposed to do as a hockey player. Just assume that they're at the top of that. So if you assume that, then you have to take yours up a notch. And then underestimate how good you are. So when you think you're good, you actually have no idea how good the guys around the world are, or especially when you move to another level, how skilled the skilled guys are. So if you understand that, or let's even say this, let's just say you're the best right winger or best centerman, whatever position you are on your team, and every team's got one like you. So there's still 20 of you. How do you fit going to the next level? Not everyone can score goals, not everything. So when someone gives you a role, embrace it. So I've always told Charlie, and this is not to make Charlie, not to diminish his skill at all, but I've taught him over the last, especially few years, even when he was a kid, back checking and checking and all the little things. I said, those are the important things. The other stuff you'll get. But I said, your goal should be the best third line. Like if you want to play in the NHL, be the best third line player in the entire world and find one or two things that no one does like you. So you might say as a parent or a coach, well, that's kind of selling them short. Try to be a best third line guy. No, because here's the thing. If you're an incredible third line guy and you finish your checks and you block your shots and you're good defensively, good in the neutral zone, do all the little things, if you have the skill,
that's right,
you can move up to the second or first line. But if you don't have that skill, you're either scoring goals or you're out of here. And that's only one spot. But if you're adaptable like a cockroach as opposed to a dinosaur, if you're adaptable, then you always have a chance to play. You're always needed. But if you're only good on power plays or the offensive side of the puck, or if you're only good at the defensive side, that's it. Then you're limited to where you can go. So if you can be the best all-around player, so I say for him, I say be the best third line right winger that anyone could ever find, you'll play hockey for a long, long time.
Yep. And that's and the funny thing too is like now one of the things that, using Charlie as an example, one of the things that separates him is the physicality.
Yeah.
It's not his shot. Like it's not
right, because he's okay. So you say that with his shot is great.
His shot's unreal.
Right, but so is everyone in the
exactly, right? So the thing that separates him is like, man, like you throw some body.
Right.
So it's not his ability to drive the net and cut
right
and to tuck it back. That's not what the separator is.
Right on.
So the fact that he's tried to build some of those characteristics is paying off for him as a first-year OHL player going into his second year.
Yeah.
Now he has that as part of his identity.
Yeah.
And once has enough opportunity to let his skill come out, now it's like he might change, but he still has that backdoor role of worst case scenario, I can lay a guy out,
That's right.
you know?
That's
And
right.
and that's the same with a guy like Jerv is like that too. On the back check, we were just playing
I
out there
saw.
today,
Yeah.
right? And I'm like, I have the puck going to make a pass, whatever. Then I got a stick coming through my legs to knock the puck. I'm like, where is this stick coming from? And that's freaking Jerv, man.
He's absolutely tenacious
Yes.
when it comes to stripping pucks.
Yeah.
And Charlie said that. So one of the things that Charlie did in his interviews when he was getting all his OHL interviews, they said, who's someone that you'd want to take with you to play with for the rest of your life? And he always said Seabass, because he was all the little things that he does that no one really notices. But you notice playing against him,
Patrice Bergeron, man.
right? He just
It's like
strips
you
pucks.
think you have the puck,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden you see a stick come around your right hip, and it's like in your hands, and it's like shit, and now you muffin a pass, and it's a turnover.
Absolutely tenacious.
And so here's another one, right? So he's a guy that what stands out about him, nobody says his blazing speed.
Right.
Nobody says how good his hands are in tight, but he is fast.
Yeah.
He does have good hands, but it's that this guy's stick is always up my ass, and I can't. No matter what I do, I got this freaking stick in my back pocket.
He's a pain in the ass.
He's a pain in the ass, man. He's an absolute pain in the
Charlie?
ass.
It's a pain in the ass.
and that's what ends up being a separator for him.
Yeah.
It's not those other things. So that's an awesome advice to give to all the kids coming up. It's like you need to have something else, man.
Yeah.
Because the 1%er guys are the 1%er guys, and if you're not one of those, which is highly likely, if you can have something else, then you're just better off, man. So
100%.
don't think that it's the coach trying to make you something you're not. You don't know what you are yet.
Yeah.
You don't know what you are. You should be open to being whatever comes your way, because if you want the best chance at moving on to a higher level, then you need to have a wide array of skills. You need to have a skill set so you can pick one thing to maybe be a separator for you.
Well, it's funny because I'm just looking at I watch the OHL so closely now. It's just so funny to watch, like the NHL draft is coming and then guys that are ranked, and guys, hey Charlie, some guys are devastated. Like they're going, what do you mean? I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, no, everyone's the same. Like everyone's the same. Like a centerman that's fast, that tries to score goals, that doesn't, like they're all the same guy. So then you get a guy like, I'm just going to throw a name out there, Connor Geeky out west. He's probably going to go in the top 10, right? Probably top 10 in the NHL draft. Apparently 6'4", finishes hits and stuff like that. He's different. He's different. He sticks out, right? Cutter Goche, another power forward. It's just different. Like you get something a little different.
It's like anything. Like you think when you go for a job interview, or anybody who runs a business or is an employer, and you're in charge of hiring people. If you got 15 resumes that are the same, what are you looking for? Like you're looking for the one that's got something a little bit, because it goes, oh, maybe I want to take another look at this guy, or whatever. So it's important, man. It's really good. It's really good advice, and that was something I did not at all understand when I went through junior. So try to keep that in mind, especially with the parents too, man. Like try to make your kid a first line player. That's fine, but they got to have